Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Victoria Montefusco and I'm a lover of all things when it comes to makeup, and today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite things, which are eyeshadows. So we're going to be comparing some luxury eyeshadow formulas today. We're going to be doing a head-to-head battle between luxury quads. So I have luxury quads from Charlotte Tilbury, Tom Ford, Roen, and Chanel. So if you're interested in hearing my thoughts about these quads, seeing some swatches, having a formula comparison, also seeing some looks that I did this week with those quads, you should definitely keep on watching. All right, so we're going to begin our luxury quad head-to-head journey with Charlotte Tilbury. So I have the Charlotte Tilbury quad in Walk of No Shame, which it looks like this in case you are not aware. So it has very much like warm tones in here. And I would say out of all of the formulas in here, we have 3 satins, and this formula right in this bottom corner right here, that one is kind of a metallic. I think she tried to go for metallic and in my opinion, kind of failed. So let's do some swatches of this formula. So I'm first gonna swatch that lightest shade, then the middle shade, then the deepest shade, and we're gonna swatch this on my hand. So here's what those first 3 shades look like. As you can see, very satiny, very pigmented. These perform really well. And I'll swatch that last shade that's supposed to be a metallic. So this shade is a bit shiny, but when you swatch it, it looks pretty sheer. So here's what I would say about the Charlotte Tilbury formula. Here's my pros and my cons. The pros are those satins are very pigmented. They're very easy to blend out. They look really flattering on the eye, and I think they'd be really flattering if you have more mature lids. The con of this palette is that metallic-y shade, that shade that's supposed to be a metallic. This shade just does not have really any punch or pow. It's hard to build up. It's very much like a translucent kind of base with a little bit of like shimmer and sparkle, but it's not a lot. So out of the Charlotte Tilbury palette, I would say 3 out of 4 of the shades in the quad are shades I enjoy, which when you're spending, you know, upwards of $50 for a quad, you better like all 4 of the shades. So that's my opinion of the Charlotte Tilbury Walk of No Shame palette, but it does seem like in her more recent quads, she has been improving that metallic formula, so I have not tried that one yet. Next, let's switch gears a bit, and we're going to be talking about a quad that has all metallic, sparkly, shimmery, accent kind of shades, and this is the Roen 1111 quad. So I'm going to open it up, and this is what it looks like. So we have 4 shades in here that are very much metallics. This is very much an accent quad. I actually wore this the other day with the Charlotte Tilbury quad, so of course I'll pop up a picture of that look. And I would say these textures in this Roen quad are very wet. They're not like a super shock, because when you first press them and put your finger into them and circle around in them, they do feel kind of dry, but the more and more you circle your finger in there, the wetter they start to feel. So they also feel a little bit sticky on the lid, which I find kind of unique, not something I've ever really experienced. And I found that with this Roen quad, if you're not careful, these can crease really easily. So the way I wear them is I put a very thin layer of glitter glue, and then I wait maybe like a minute, 30 seconds to a minute, and then I go in with the shades, and then I put them on my lid. So you have to be careful with how you use this palette. Maybe it's just because I have an eye shape that has a little bit more like folds and stuff in them. So maybe that's why these tend to crease on me if I'm not careful, but that is something to keep in mind. But I feel like this quad pairs really nicely with the Charlotte Tilbury, just because we have, you know, pinky rosy tones in there, pinky rosy tones in the Charlotte Tilbury. And it also pairs really well with the Chanel quad I'm going to show you, and also one of the Tom Ford quads I'm going to show you. So it's a really nice quad. So I'm going to start swatching this for you all. So again, it starts out dry, but the more you put your finger in there, the wetter it becomes. So there we go, and there we go. All right. So these are the shades of the Roen quad. I hope you can see that. So this first shade right here is a bit chunky. I would say it's the chunkiest of the bunch. So I'll show you that in the palette actually, that'll be helpful. Yeah, this top shade right here, that is the chunkiest by far. So if you look on my wrists or on my arm, excuse me, you can see how chunky that is. That one is the one that tends to crease a bit on me. And then these other three shades in the quad, those are a bit more, I don't know what I would call them. They're a bit smoother in texture. They're still metallic. They still provide a lot more punch than like that Charlotte Tilbury shade, for example. But they are a bit smoother in texture versus the chunkiness of that first shade. So this is what that quad looks like on my arm. I would say this quad is good for you if you have a lot of luxury quads in your collection and you want one that provides a lot of like metallic shades and a little bit of a pop. I would say if you own a lot of like indie brand singles like I do, or like the Adept Cosmetics Plain Jane or Niteshine palettes where you have like special shades like this already in a palette, you don't necessarily need this, but it can be nice to have. I just don't prefer this formula because it tends to be hard to work with and crease if you're not careful. So personally, I would not recommend this for you all, but you may all have a different opinion if you have tried this formula. Next, let's talk about Chanel. So I have this little quad from Chanel. It comes in this little dust bag. And of course it has this classic packaging. So this is the Les Four Ombres Candor et Seduction quad from Chanel. So this is what it looks like. Again, we're working with lots of warm tones here, but these are a bit deeper than the Charlotte Tilbury and a bit deeper than the Tom Ford that I'm going to show you. Also, what I find unique about the Chanel quad versus the other quads I've been showing you and am going to show you is that we have 3 true mattes in here, which I feel like luxury quads, they tend to like to use satins, but we actually have 3 true mattes. So that lightest shade in the quad, that is a metallic, and I do feel like this performs pretty nicely for what it is. But these 3 mattes in here, they are a lot more pigmented than you would think, at least than what I thought when I first used them. And they were really beautifully on the eyes. They're very pigmented, they're very nice. So I was pretty impressed with this formula from Chanel. So I'm gonna swatch it for you, give you all some thoughts. So this is what the Chanel Candor et Seduction quad looks like on my arm. I did a look with this week as well, so I will pop that up here, of course. And so, as you can see, this is pretty darn pigmented. Also, I'm not sure if you can see, but those 3 darkest shades, those are true mattes. And then that metallic-y kind of satiny shade, that does provide a little bit of shine. You can use a glitter glue with it, and it does build up the intensity. I have done that before. So I would say the Chanel formula is good for you. Again, if you have mature lids, I think these mattes are very easy to work with. They blend out like nobody's business, and they're really beautiful and really nice on the eyes. So even though they're not satins and not as friendly on texture and all of that, I still think the mattes are really beautiful. I think this formula could work for a lot of different types of people, a lot of different preferences. There's so many Chanel quads, there's a color for everybody. There's a color story for everybody in the selection. And I just think that this quad works for a lot of different types of people. When I want a more effortless, natural look that I don't have to spend a lot of time on, I can blend out really easily. But you know, I still want to play with like these warm tones. The Chanel quad is the one I tend to reach for. So I've really been enjoying the Chanel formula, and I think you all would too if you like mattes and if you know what to expect from a luxury formula. I think you all would like it. So next, let's talk about Tom Ford. I have 2 Tom Ford quads in my collection, and I'm actually wearing one of them on my eyes today. So I think first, let's talk about the Double Indemnity quad, which I also did a look with this week in preparation for this video to get my thoughts together, all of that. So I'll pop up that look over here, of course. And the Double Indemnity quad comes in the classic brown pouch packaging and the classic brown Tom Ford packaging. And so you open it up, This is what it looks like. This is very cool toned, very natural, very beautiful. So this retails for $88. Is this worth $88? My answer is heck no. This is a great formula. The two Tom Ford palettes I have the wet to dry formula, and it is a wonderful formula. And these, again, are very satiny, look very natural in the eyes. These blend out the easiest. These Tom Ford quads blend out the easiest out of all of the quads I have in my collection, out of all these luxury quads. So they're stunning. They're probably my favorite formula, but they're not worth the money. There's no way these could be worth the money. I mean, they would have to be like made out of gold or something, I don't know. So it's a stunning formula, but it's of course not worth it just because it's really expensive. But if you can get your hands on one of these during the VIB sale at Sephora, I've heard the Cosmetics Company store, which is a store that's in like a lot of like Tanger outlets. I know I have one near me in Sevierville, Tennessee. I know that store has Tom Ford for like 50, even higher % off. So I recommend going there. I'm personally wanting to take a trip to the outlets just to see if I can find some Tom Ford for a discount. So I'm gonna swatch this palette for you all, this quad. This is just a really beautiful quad. So this is what it looks like. All of these are satins, I would say, except for this black. This black has a lot of like metallicness into it, but it is absolutely beautiful. So, all right, so this is what the Tom Ford quad looks like. I really hope you all can see that. So again, these formulas, it's the wet to dry Tom Ford formula, so it is just effortless. I mean, these are satins, these are beautiful, they blend out so easily. The eye looks I've done with this are just stunning. Really easy way to incorporate some cool tones into your collection, into your looks. So I love, love, love the Tom Ford formula. The Double Indemnity quad is beautiful. It's my favorite out of the two. And my other Tom Ford quad, this is the Mercurial quad. This came out, I believe, for holiday this year. So this is what I'm wearing on my eyes right now. This is what it looks like. Again, we have lots of warm tones. I'm not sure if you're sensing a pattern here, but I love my warm tones. So this is just a beautiful palette. Again, wet to dry formula, really easy to blend. These are all satins. There's none of that sparkly formula like there was in that black in the Mercurial quad. And again, is this worth $88? No, but is this really beautiful? And if you're willing to spend the money, are you going to regret this? I would say no, you probably wouldn't regret this because it is a really, really beautiful color story and just a beautiful formula. Again, here's what the shades look like on my fingers. We will swatchy on my arm. So there is what the Mercurial quad looks like. It's a very similar color story to the Roen quad. In fact, it's basically the same exact color story as the Roen quad, except the Roen is, that metallic, dry to wet kind of formula, and the Tom Ford is all of these satins. So I would say the Roen and the Mercurial quad pair really nicely together because you basically have a metallic for every one of your satins. Actually, I'll show you right now. All right, so here's the Roen quad, and here's the Tom Ford Mercurial. See how similar they are? That's what I'm saying. You basically have a metallic for every one of the satins. So if you want to pair both of them together, I think it's a good idea and they work beautifully together. But this Tom Ford quad, really nice quality, so easy to blend. I mean, this look on my eyes took me like 5 minutes and it was just so easy. So I love this formula. So now that I've given you an overview of all of the quads that I own that are from luxury brands and shown you swatches and given you my thoughts, you may be asking which quad is right for me. So I would say if you are the type of person that wants really easily blendable, just effortless satins, Tom Ford is the way to go, period. They're really, really beautiful. And they just perform so nicely on the eyes, they last all day, and they're just like, I can do an eye look with one of those quads in literally 5 minutes. So if you want something super easy, super quick, super effortless, Tom Ford. If you want satins, but you don't want to spend $88, I would say Charlotte Tilbury is a really good alternative to Tom Ford because she's a little bit cheaper. There are some sales sometimes. I got the Walk of No Shame quad for like 30% off on Cult Beauty. I know Beautylish is having a sale, at least when I'm filming on some Charlotte Tilbury quads, like 30% off. So you can find some of them on sale too, which makes them even less expensive. It's still not cheap because it's a luxury brand, but it's less expensive than the Tom Ford, and the satins are also really nice quality. They're just a little bit more pigmented off the bat, so they're not as easily blendable as, you know, user-friendly, beginner-friendly, all of that. If you are the type of person that likes mattes and wants a little more bang for your buck when it comes to like pigment, Chanel. I was so shocked when I tried that Chanel quad for the first time with just how pigmented it was off the bat. There is some fallout, of course, associated with those pigmented mattes, but if you like matte shadows, if you want to try a luxury quad with mattes, Chanel is really, really good. So if you like mattes, Chanel is the way to go, in my opinion. And then if you're the type of person that wants a companion palette, a palette full of metallics, the Roen palette is okay. It's just on me, I tend to find it creases a bit, and also I prefer using my Adept Cosmetics palettes or my singles from indie brands like Cleona, Divina, Terra Moons, etc. I find that those last longer on my eyes, they're more impactful, I like the formulas better. But if you are wanting to try a luxury quad with all metallics, Roen is an option for you. Just not one I would necessarily feel comfortable recommending like for everybody, just because I've seen some creasing with it personally. So those are all of my thoughts on my luxury quads. I hope you enjoyed this head-to-head kind of like battle video. I really enjoyed making it. I love talking about luxury makeup as well as indie makeup and really all types of makeup. So this is really fun for me as well. If you liked this video, please like the video. Helps out with the ever-changing, ever-evolving YouTube algorithm. If you like me, please subscribe. Would love to have you all here watching my videos 3 times a week. And if you all have any ideas for videos, please leave them down in the comments down below. I've been getting a lot of my video ideas from you all, and I really appreciate that because sometimes it can be hard to come up with video ideas if you're not getting new makeup in all the time. And in March, I only bought like 8 makeup products, which for me is very low. So I've had to be a little bit more creative this month. And with that, thank you all for watching this video. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you all in my next video. Bye.